So today I had the pleasure of interviewing my father, Joe Ortega, and today I'm just going to be asking him a couple of questions about what his Hispanic heritage means to him and go into detail about the Ortega family line. So, Dad, what does your Hispanic heritage mean to you?
Well, it means a lot of things. It means that we descend from Mexico and from Indians and primarily from Spain. We come from Spain. It means we have a rich culture in Mexico and in the United States. Uh, it depends what you want to focus on, but if you want to just focus on family, it means a warm culture of family. Hispanic cultures are generally very close, very tight knit, and I'm very proud to come from this, to be a descendant of, Mexican immigrants.
Now, segueing to our next question, this is just one out of curiosity for me. But, Dad, what is one of your favorite foods that your abuela made for you when you were younger?
Well, as I was talking about earlier, their Hispanic culture is pretty close, and food is one of the most basic traditions of the Mexican culture. I guess it depends on the family on what side of the family we're talking about. But if I'm going to focus on one, I guess it would be on my mother's side, my grandmother. She's from Michoacan, Sinaloa, and my favorite thing that she made when I was a child was a couple of things actually. One of them was tamales de piña. She would make them very good. She would make them with masa, obviously, but she would grind everything herself. She would add raisins and she would add pineapples to the masa with cinnamon type liquid into it, and she'd mix it. And we used to, like, for Christmas the next day, for either in the morning or in the afternoon, we'd have café con leche and tamales de piña. That was one of my favorite things as a child.
That sounds delicious. Now, Dad, my last question for you is I've noticed recently you've been really curious about our family's history and where we come from, and I've seen you on Ancestry a lot recently. Is there anything interesting about the Ortega bloodline or family that you'd like to share with us?
Well, there is. I've been doing Ancestry now for a couple of years, 2 to 3 years. I've been doing a lot of research, and I've learned a lot of things from my family. But I guess one of the interesting things on the Ortega side of the family, I learned that we are descendants of a gentleman who was our great grandfather. His name was Jose Francisco Ortega, and he was a soldier for the Spanish Armadas, and they set the way. And he was part of the Camino Real that comes from Mexico into San Francisco, that goes all the way to San Francisco. And he was one of the founders and paved the way of that road. And I learned that because of him, I learned that he was one of the first Spanish settlers he was the first Spanish settler that laid eyes on the Bay of San Francisco. And that was our grandfather. They came from Guanajuato, Mexico Mexico to Loreto, the Presidio of Loreto in Mexico. And from there he went to San Diego, California, where he met with, I forgot this gentleman's name. It doesn't come to mind right now. What is his name? But anyways, he helped establish the Presidio of San Diego. From there, he went to with Junipero de Cera. He traveled with him to Monterrey, California, and to Santa Barbara, California. One of the surprising things that I had is that the Presidio of Santa Barbara was given to him by the Spanish government, or the Spanish queen at the time, because he retired as a soldier. And one of the things that was surprising to me is when I started looking up the name Jose Ortega in Santa Barbara, there was a lot of things that were named after him. And little did I know that was a relative, or that was my great grandfather, and had no clue. This is back in the 1600s, I believe it was. It was him and Junipero de Cera. He helped establish the missions of San Juan Capistrano, and I used to work around those areas. And little did I know my family influence in there. There was a highway as well that was built. It's called the Ortega Highway. And I remember when I was a young man driving through there in California. It was off Interstate 5, And I remember driving through there with my father, and we used to kid around that highway was named after us because we were Ortegas. Little did we know that was actually the case. We had no clue until I started looking at Ancestry. Of course, you're very proud of that stuff. Will we ever get anything out of that? Of course not. But it's nice to know that what your ancestors did at some point and the contributions that they had to California and the United States. I also learned that one of his descendants was the first United States citizen born in the U.S. after the United States took over California. After California became the U.S., one of his sons was the first U.S. citizen born in California. So it's very interesting. I like that's just on my mother's side, and on my father's side, I'm sorry. But what's interesting about the entire thing is that we all have a history. Whether it's good or bad, it's good to know it. I mean, my mother's side has got some pretty interesting history as well from Mexico. And we have, our skeletons in our closet like anybody else, but it's interesting to know where you come from.
Well, Dad, I just want to say muchas gracias. Thank you so much for letting me interview you for this presentation.
De nada. Y recuerden que es importante conocer nuestros antecedentes latinoamericanos. Todos tenemos una historia que contar.